Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spin Cycle Live. I'm your host, Nathan Hale. Today, we are back with another episode of this amazing, awesome, wonderful show, which you all should be watching every single day. It comes out at 6 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday and Thursday. Today is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. We're in the last week of October. Can you believe it? Can you believe that we are wrapping up the month of October? It seems like yesterday that we were watching the inauguration take place, let alone it being October. We're almost a year into the Trump presidency, the second Trump presidency. I can't believe it. It's so crazy. It blows my mind how fast time is just flowing by. But we're back with another episode again. We have so much to cover, from the new Japanese prime minister to some shakeups happening within ICE to where we have the Biden Autopen story back in the news cycle again. So much to cover, so much to talk about, and we might as well go ahead and get right into it with our very first story of the day. So this comes from the Daily Wire. So more Trump trade wins. U.S. and Japan strike rare earth pact, announce strategic investment deal. So it hasn't even been like it's only seems like it's only been like a week or two since Japan elected a new prime minister. It's the first ever female prime minister of Japan. She is a conservative, and she is already striking up deals with the United States so that the United States and Japan can grow as global powerhouses. Now, I'm going to read through this article, but I want you to think about something very strategic here and why this is happening and why Trump is to thank for all of this. This is a big win for the United States to decouple us from China, right? We as a country need to get away from being so attached to the hip to China for everything we have, from our rare earth minerals to our technology to our cars to our products to everything that we use as Americans. So much of it relies on Chinese cooperation, and the more and more we can rely on many countries around the world to get our goods instead of just a single one, and especially the more that we can get to produce in the United States, the better it is for our country and for the rest of the world, by the way, because I would rather have the United States in charge of the world's reserve of cars, their technology, or manufacturing versus China, right? Because at any minute, China can snap their fingers and cut everyone off from their manufacturing, and we don't want that. So let's go ahead and read through this story. So, the proposed Japanese investments were a key part of the U.S. Japan trade deal agreed upon in July. So it looks like they're finally. So it looks like it was negotiated in July. It's finally being signed, maybe. So the Trump administration and Japan reached a deal on rare earth minerals on Tuesday and unveiled a list of projects, including a $550 billion investment proposal stemming from a July trade agreement. The rare earth deal, which President Donald Trump signed alongside Japanese Prime Minister, I'm going to get her name wrong, forgive me, Sene Takayachi, establishes a mutual stockpiling arrangement and stipulates that the United States and Japan will cooperate with international partners to protect the supply chain, Reuters reported. Trump has been pushing to better secure the rare earth supply chain and to cut into China's stranglehold over rare earth minerals. Along with the rare earth deal, the United States and Japan released a list of proposed projects to boost Japanese investment in the U.S. economy. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said at a press conference alongside Trump on Tuesday that the proposals, quote, are driven by the Japanese Strategic Investment Initiative, which was created by Trump's tariff policy and by Trump's historic trade deal agreement with Japan. Lutnick added that the initial investment totals $490 billion, which he called the launch phase, Bloomberg reported. After the launch phase, more projects would then be considered for a total of $550 billion. project. The proposed Japanese investments were a key part of the U.S. Japan trade agreement agreed upon in July when President Trump lowered tariffs on Japan auto imports from 27.5% to 15%, and in exchange, Japan agreed to invest $550 billion into the United States. My gosh, I gotta say that few percentage points, 27.5 down to 15, more than worth $550 billion in investment. That sounds awesome, right? We want more cars manufactured in our country. I'd love to see it. The two allies announced numerous investment projects spanning energy and critical minerals, as well as artificial intelligence development. Among the proposed projects is a plan to invest up to $100 billion for the construction of nuclear reactors and small modular reactors in the United States. That's even more fantastic. That proposal would involve the American manufacturing company Westinghouse and include the involvement of Japanese suppliers and operators such as Mitsubishi, Heavy Industries, Toshiba Group, and IHI, according to a Japanese government handout. Another $100 billion energy proposal would build even small module reactors in the United States with some investment from Japanese companies. President Trump also said that Toyota planned to invest more than $10 billion in U.S. auto plants. During a speech to U.S. troops in Japan, Trump said, quote, "I was just told by the Prime Minister that Toyota is going to be putting auto plants all over the United States to the tune of over $10 billion. Other investment proposals mentioned include a $30 billion proposal for Mitsubishi Electric to supply generators, transmission, and distribution systems, as well as equipment for AI data centers. A $15 million proposal includes Panasonic supplying, quote, energy storage systems and other electronics to contribute to strengthening supply chains in the United States. This is a big deal. This is a big deal, folks. This is another step closer to decoupling the United States from China. It's also another step closer to bringing more manufacturing back to the United States, right? We can preach day and night that we need to have more blue-collar jobs and less people going to college, right? But we can't sit here and encourage people to not go to college when those jobs don't exist. So by opening up more manufacturing, by creating more of those blue-collar jobs, suddenly it makes a more viable solution for more and more people not to go to college. Instead, go become a factory worker, or go work in a manufacturing plant, or go work any other number of blue-collar jobs, right? Because there's plenty of people who don't want to go to college, that they don't want to start a business. They don't go become a plumber or electrician or anything like that, right? They want to go and build cars, right? They want to go and become a welder, right? They want to go and become someone who works in manufacturing, right? And we need to have those jobs, right? Those are great things. Like all of these clothes we wear, manufactured. The mic I'm speaking into was manufactured, right? Someone needed to assemble all of this together. And having that in the United States is a game changer, right? Especially for cars. I want as many of my products to be made in America as possible, and I do not mind paying a premium for those things. When I see a made in America product, I would much rather buy that product and pay an extra $5 or $10 for it than a product produced in China, right? Because I know the product that was produced in the United States, it had the best working conditions for the employees, it had the greenest manufacturing for the environment, and it's the best situation for that product. I don't mind paying extra money for it because I know we have to pay our workers fairly. I would much rather pay a premium for a product made paying workers a fair wage than produced using child labor like they do over in China. This is a big deal. I'm glad to see it. This is hundreds of billions of dollars of investment being made in the United States. Where was this under Joe Biden is what I want to know. Right? Where was this? I know we had, the Chips and Science Act or something, but that was really the only thing I heard about during the Biden administration, investment in the United States. I heard a whole lot of money being sent to other countries, though, during the Biden administration. So I'm glad to see that we have some money coming in to our country, and it's beneficial for both countries, right? It's a win-win for Japan and the United States. So I would love to see it. All right, let's move on. So there's been a lot of controversy happening within the Federal Reserve right now because we know that Jerome Powell, his term is going to be coming to an end very soon. So the new Federal Reserve chairman needs to be selected. There was talk that that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's name might be in the running for chairman. I was against that. I was like, I think he's doing a great job as Treasury Secretary. Let's leave him in that position. I think he was a Trump administration nominee that I knew nothing about when he was nominated, and he's doing one of like the best jobs that I've ever seen in government. I mean, can we just take a moment to appreciate how great the president's cabinet is right now in this country? I mean, when have we had a time, like, can you think of a time in the 21st century when we've had a cabinet made up of as many competent people as we have right now? From Scott Bessent to Tulsi Gabbard to RFK to Marco Rubio to Pete Hegseth. Can you think of a cabinet made up of so many like big dog awesome people running our government? I can't. I really can't. I mean, I can think of one-off secretaries, but I mean, this entire cabinet is just absolutely killing it right now. I mean, we can criticize things here and there, but when it comes down to actually running the government, it's doing a great job. Obviously, they can always do more. I will always say that I want them to do more. But in terms of actually running the government, I think they're doing fantastic, right? So I know this Competence name was in here, but his name appears to be off the list. So let's talk about the upcoming nominees. This is going to be a big deal for fiscal monetary policy in the United States going forward, depending on who ends up running the Federal Reserve. Let's get into it. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Monday confirmed the names of 5 candidates to replace Jerome Powell as chair of the powerful Federal Reserve next year. On an Air Force One flight to Asia with President Donald Trump, Bessent said he would engage in a second round of interviews in the coming weeks and present a good slate of candidates to Trump right after Thanksgiving. Trump said he expected to decide on Powell's replacement by the end of this year. The 5 people under consideration are Federal Reserve Governors Christopher Weller and Michelle Bowman, former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh, White House Economic Advisor Kevin Hassett, and Rick Rieder, Senior Managing Director at asset manager BlackRock. The names suggest that no matter who is picked, there will likely be big changes coming to the Federal Reserve next year. Bessent, who's leading the search for Powell's replacement last month, published extensive criticisms of the Fed and some of the policies it has pursued from the great financial crisis of 2008 through 2009 to the pandemic. Trump's goal of selecting a new chair by the end of this year would reflect some of the tricky elements surrounding Powell's status. His term as chair ends next May, but he could remain on the Fed board as one of 7 governors until January of 2028, an unusual but not entirely unprecedented step. Such a move would deprive Trump of an opportunity to nominate another governor for several years. Hassett is currently the chair of the National Economic Council at the White House and was also a top Trump advisor in the president's first term and a frequent defender of the administration's policies on television. His longtime loyalty to the president could give him an edge, some Fed watchers say. Warsh is a former economic advisor in the George W. Bush administration and was appointed to the Fed's governing board in 2006 at age 35, making him the youngest Fed governor in history. He left the board in 2011. Warsh is now a fellow at the Hoover Institute and a lecturer at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. Weller was appointed to the Fed by Trump in 2020 and quickly established himself as an independent voice. He began pushing for rate cuts in July and dissented at the meeting in the favor of a quarter-point cut when the Fed decided to leave its key rate unchanged. But he voted to reduce rates just a quarter point in September, along with 10 other Fed officials. Meanwhile, Marine dissented in favor of a half point. Michelle Bowman is the Fed's vice chair of supervision, making her the nation's top banking regulator. She was appointed by Trump in 2018 and before that was Kansas State Bank Commissioner. Bowman also dissented in favor of a rate cut in July, then voted with her colleagues last month for a quarter point reduction. Ryder has the most financial market experience of any of the candidates and has worked for Wall Street firms since 1987. Ryder joined BlackRock in 2009. His focus is in fixed income, and he oversees the management of roughly $2.4 trillion in assets. So if you had to ask me who I'd like to see this guy from BlackRock, frankly. He seems like the one guy right here who has been most separated from government. I love to see non-government people in government positions. I frankly think they do the best jobs. Trump was a non-government person in a government position. Pete Hegseth, non-government guy, now in a government job, right? I think that a lot of the best people end up making their way and being really great leaders in politics are people who come at it because they actually want to do the job. They're not at it to get power or to be an entrenched politician. They're there because they want to actually make a difference and change things, like people like Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't have to be president. Donald Trump didn't have to run for president in 2024. He'd already been president, right? It doesn't get better than already having been the president, right? But he chose to do it because he wants to do the best for the American people that he can. I honestly truly believe that. Now he makes mistakes here and there, in my opinion, but I think for the most part, he wants the best for the American public. I think this guy from BlackRock, despite my issues with BlackRock, I'm not a big fan of BlackRock owning all of these single-family houses across the United States and like clenching up the housing market. But I don't deny that managing $1 trillion in assets is kind of a big deal. And I think that this guy from BlackRock, he would know what he's doing when it comes to understanding markets, and he'd be a good Fed chairman. So we'll see how it goes. We'll be sure to update you when we hear more about this story. But it's interesting. So I just want to give an update to all that, so you're all informed. You all know what's happening going forward. So keep an eye on all this. So we should have an update kind of maybe right after Thanksgiving. It might be during my hiatus. So we will see. We will see. I will be taking a hiatus during the week of Thanksgiving. There won't be any shows coming out that week. It's my birthday week. It's my birthday week, and I need some time off, and I'm gonna be going to spend some time with the family. So it might be during my hiatus. I'm gonna be off the grid when it happens. But I'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as I come back on this show right after that, who the new Fed chairman is. All right. Let's talk about ICE now. So, ICE faces leadership shakeup, exposing the divide among Trump officials over deportation goals. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is facing a massive leadership shakeup, exposing a major internal divide over the direction of President Donald Trump's mass deportation effort. ICE leadership in Los Angeles, Phoenix, Philadelphia, Denver, El Paso, San Diego, Seattle, Portland, and New Orleans will be replaced with Border Patrol officials, according to sources familiar with the plan. An internal message informing Homeland Secretary personnel of the changes came from senior advisor Corey Lebanowski. Lebanowski? We're just going to call him Corey. Corey Lebanowski, whose role is temporary and similar to that of Elon Musk's former position in the White House, sources said. It's a shit show. This is all Corey Lebanowski, one source fumed. He wants power. No one isn't even in control. It's all Corey, the source added. Lebanowski is at odds with Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, and acting ICE director Todd Loans, over the mass deportation target, sources said. Homan and Leons want more criminals arrested, while Lebanowski is only concerned with increasing numbers. Border Patrol has largely made arrests during sweeps of Home Depot parking lots and car washes, facing legal backlash from the operators. I'm sorry, how funny is it that all the illegals are hanging out at Home Depots and car washes? I'm just saying, it sounds like a skit from a South Park episode. We're being perfectly honest here, but it's the truth. So they're used to being on the border and don't have as much experience working in the community, where they must build relationships and develop intelligence to target the worst of the worst, a source said. Questions have also arisen about Lebanowski's ability to call any shots at DHS, since his role has a 130-day limit. By mid-August, Lebanowski, who served as Trump's campaign manager in 2016, had logged 69 days, DHS said. Axios reported in August that Lebanowski was serving as Nome's de facto chief of staff, who has gamed the system by undercounting his work hours to avoid leaving his unpaid job when he should have. This reporter observed Lebanowski introduce himself to officials in ICE's Phoenix office as chief of staff while on a ride along with Nome. We're hearing that Corey's doing everything, failing to swipe in, working from home, whatever, to undercount his days. It's fair to say his work is being watched now. A White House official told Axios. He's lying about his special government employee status 100%, a source told the Daily Wire. So this is quite the story. Now, what I hope to see... All right. Level with me for a second, folks. What we saw under the first Trump administration, in my opinion, was when things started to get tough, we started to see cracks form in the Trump administration that ultimately led to, I believe, part of his demise going into 2020, right? There's a lot of backstabbers. Kristi Noem runs DHS. This is her call. She is the boss of all these people. She's Tom Homan's boss. She's Corby Lebanowski's boss. She's the boss of all these people. She oversees all of these departments. The buck stops with her, right? If we want to see the Trump administration continue to be successful over the next few years, we need to be very careful about who we allow to get into power and what we allow them to do. So if this is in fact true, that we have an individual who is differing with the calls of Kristi Noem and Tom Homan, who I believe are the two best qualified people. I mean, Tom Homan, I think, is by far the best qualified person to be handling everything that has to do with deportation in the United States, right? This guy's a baddie. If we have someone in the administration who is calling shots, who's differing with these two people, and they have something to say about it, that needs to be taken care of immediately. These either fall in line or be removed, right? We have this branch that is growing off of the tree and needs to be pruned if it's not going to fall in line with the rest of it. And typically, I'm not someone who usually is either fall in line or get out of the way, right? I usually am stronger for, hey, if you have a different opinion, like go and do your thing. But this isn't having a different opinion. This is controlling departments. This is going and executing your will that differs from your boss's will, right? And that's not okay. My feeling is that, like I said, we need to take care of these things and make sure things fall in line. Now, what seems to be happening, with a fracture that seems to be happening, is that Corey Lebanowski, wants to see more deportations happen, versus Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are wanting to see criminals be deported first. I've heard some criticism of this being that, hey, all illegals that come into the United States, they're all criminals. They should all be treated the same way. They're all criminals, right? And I agree with that. That's not what they're saying, in my opinion, what I believe they're saying. What I believe that Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are going after is people who have actually committed crimes within the United States. For example, shoplifting, right? Hurting people, right? Having additional crimes on top of just coming to the country illegally. Because, level with me, be honest with me. Who would you rather see deported, right? Would you rather see the father of three who is working a steady construction job and is just trying to stay out of the way and keep quiet, who came into the country illegally? Or would you rather see the murderers, the shoplifters, the assaulters, the rapists? Would you rather see those people deported first, right? Because we can't wrangle up every single person in one day and just deport them all. We can't do it. We don't have the manpower to do it. But we do have the power to decide who we're going to go after first. We know who a lot of these criminals are. So would you rather see the people who actually have a criminal record in addition to coming into the country legally deported first, the actual people who are causing violence, or the people who just cut the line deported first? And I think that's the argument here is, do you just want to see people deported in general, or do you want to see a focus on going after the worst of the worst first, and then slowly getting to father through construction worker, right? Who do you want to see? I would personally rather see the criminals get deported first, the people who actually committed crimes in the United States, the shoplifters, the rapists, the murderers, all of these people. Get them out of the country first. Once you take care of them, then let's go after all these other people. So that, I think, is the contention here, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So I trust Kristi Noem, and I trust the leadership of DHS do the right thing. And I'm sure there's more happening on the inside that we don't know about. And there could be a very strategic reason why this is even happening, right? This is just a story that came out. I thought it was interesting. I felt like covering it. So if you have more insight in this, send me a message on Twitter. Let me know. And I'd be happy to talk about it later. So, all right. Let's go move on. So from Newsmax, Democrats set January application deadlines for states' early 2028 primary contests. This is interesting, folks. The Democrats are scrambling after what happened in 2024, so they're wanting to get ahead, it seems like. So let's see what's going to happen. So not even a year out from the last presidential election, the Democrat National Committee has begun setting up a framework for the party's next round of presidential primary elections. They want you all to forget about Kamala so fast, right? They want you all to forget about Kamala. They want you all to forget about Joe Biden. They want you all to believe that Donald Trump has just been the reigning president for the past 16 years, right? So, which could upend the early voting calendar yet again. The Rules and Bylaws Committee, which by the way, this happened in 2024, the Rules and Bylaws Committee of the Democratic National Committee on Monday approved a plan giving states until January 16th to submit applications to hold voting contests in the early window ahead of Super Tuesday, when a massive haul of delegates will be awarded. 4 or 5 states will get an early slot, and all 4 regions, East, Midwest, South, and West, must be represented according to the framework. No huge trench of delegates is necessarily at stake in the early voting contest, but their heft has traditionally played a pivotal role for candidates seeking to lead their parties, with heavy travel rotations meaning high visibility for the states involved. Quote, "We are committed to executing a fair and transparent process that will deliver a battle-tested nominee who will win back the White House for Democrats," the co-chair, Minran Moore and James Roosevelt Jr. said in a joint statement. That's really rich, coming from the party that just thrust Kamala Harris into the nomination without her winning a single primary vote, right? She hasn't won any. She's never won a single vote in any contest, and yet she was thrusting. So this whole, we're committed to executing a fair, transparent process that will deliver a battle-tested nominee. Blah 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 blah. Where was this energy in 2024? Heck, where is this energy in 2020? When have the Democrats ever had a fair and transparent process for electing their nominees for president? I can't think of one in my lifetime. Can you all? I really can't think of one. I mean, even going back to 2016, they thrust Hillary Clinton in because Bernie Sanders was leading in the races and he was doing too good. And they knew that Bernie Sanders couldn't win nationwide. So they thrust Hillary Clinton in instead. So This is just really rich coming from the Democrats. I'm just gotta say that. It's laughable. It will be months and potentially years before the 2028 calendar is set. In June, several members of the new DNC chairman Ken Martin's leadership team said the party was considering scrambling its voting order for the next election cycle. That also happened in 2024 when, at President Joe Biden's behest, South Carolina hosted the Democrats' first in the nation contest, giving the incumbent president a resounding win in the state that had helped re-secure his flagging campaign 4 years earlier. As Democratic officials gathered in Martin's home state of Minnesota for the summer meeting earlier this year, there were several private conversations about whether South Carolina, which is a reliable Republican state, should be replaced by another southern state that is considered a swing state in the general election. North Carolina and Georgia are considered the early favorites if a change is made. Now, why is that, you might ask? Why did they choose those states? It's exactly what you thought it would be. Ken Martin said South Carolina could lose its top spot, but expressed his confidence that a state with a large black population, there you go, it always goes back to the race card, if not South Carolina, would be featured prominently in the Democrats' next nomination process. Quote, clearly, the most reliable constituency of the Democratic Party are now black voters, and they will have a prominent role in the selection of our nominee, Martin said. Of course, this all hinges around the fact that they've lost South Carolina as a state for Democrats, and even then, black votership is waning for the Democrats. They're losing black votership, right? We saw them put so much pressure on Latino voters to show up and vote for Kamala Harris, and we saw that the Latino vote did not show up for Kamala. In fact, they actually showed up for Donald Trump, right? Latinos are supposed to be so against Donald Trump, right? Because he's coming after their people and trying to deport them. But a majority of Latino men voted for President Trump. And black votership over time has gone down for the Democrats, let me tell you. They're still trying to ride the wave of the Barack Obama presidency. And this is what has rooted away at the Democrats over the past decade or two, is they have been so obsessed with race. It has been race this and race that, right? Or sex, by the way. It's either discrimination because they're female or discrimination because they're black. Let me give you some examples. They ran Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012 as the first black president of the United States. Right? It all started with Obama. And then after that, it just slowly unraveled into having DEI, critical race theory, and basically just penalizing white people for being white, all until Donald Trump comes along and really starts to unravel a lot of this just this year, just in 2025, right? This has really started to unravel. We started seeing a lot of criticisms happening as early as like 2018, 2019, and kind of went through the pandemic and everything. It had a slight pause, and then it really ramped up in the early 2020s when we had things like affirmative action get overturned, and when we had DEI being really criticized, when we had all of this. But they've been so obsessed with race. When Hillary Clinton lost, they said she lost because she was a woman. When Kamala Harris lost, they said she lost because she was a woman and she's a black woman, right? Voters do not want to vote for dumb women. Voters want to vote for smart women. We want smart women running our country. We don't want dumb women. Voters don't want to vote for dumb men. We want to vote for smart men. We want smart men running our country. We don't want dumb men. We don't want dumb people. The voters can see when people are dumb and when people are smart. And you may say, well, we can tell, A lot of people still vote for Kamala Harris. Yes, there's always going to be the Democrat stronghold that's going to vote for a Democrat no matter what. And there's always going to be the Republicans who are going to vote for a Republican no matter what. They'll never have their minds changed to vote for anyone else. But there's still enough people who swung either way, the volatility of it, that Donald Trump is in the White House right now. But they're so obsessed with race. And this is what has degraded their party so much over the years. Guys, I desperately want the Democrats to be an actual opposition to the Republicans. I desperately want to live in a country where we have two parties that actually want the best for the country, who can actually debate their thoughts and ideas, who can actually make the country better in their own separate ways. But we can't have that when one party, the Republicans, is just on top, killing it, and actually enacting policies that are changing Americans' lives for the better, and the other party who's so stuck on stupid that they are just going and sticking to the race card and trying to attract black voters. They're trying to hold on to black voters like their grandma trying to hold on to their grandchildren before they leave for the winter, right? They need to let go. You need to let go. It just blows my mind. And to all the black voters out there, I truly want to ask you, how does this make you feel? Does it make you feel good that the Democrats are only going after your vote because of your skin color? Does it make you feel good that the Democrats look at you as a monolith? It doesn't make me feel good. As a gay man, it doesn't make me feel good the Democrats look at me as a monolith and will go after gay voters as a whole, because there's no way that gay people would ever vote for the Republicans. It just blows my mind. You cannot treat voters as monoliths. They're not monoliths. They're people. There are real people out there. And there are plenty of black people who are not Democrats. There are plenty of black people who are sitting in Congress right now as Republicans. Blows my mind. It blows my mind. It's just, I don't know how you can sit here. Because, okay, let me level with you all. If Republicans just started treating gay people as their monolith and saying, hey, or let's use a better example, white people, and saying, hey, white people, we're going to go after the white vote. First off, how awful does that sound? How awful does it actually sound to say we're going to go after the vote of someone because of their skin color? Can you believe the national news it would make if the Republican Party said we're going to go after the white voters? We're going after the white people. We're going to try and lock down the white vote. That would be national news, right? Because it's white. And because the Democrats are so stuck on the race card. If the party that I voted for, the Republicans, went after the white voter and treated white voters as a monolith, I have an issue with that. Be like, we're not a monolith. Don't think that I'm just going to vote for you because I'm white, right? That's ridiculous. I vote for Republicans because I believe they have better policies, and I believe they make my life better, and I have proof to show it. And they're not so stuck on stupid that they're obsessed with race and ethnicity and gender and sex and all of these things that people really don't care about. I care about policy. I care about action. I care about change. This is the Democrat Party as a whole right here. Still stuck on race. Still stuck on the idea that we're living in 2008. I don't think it's going to change. I think it's going to appeal to their nominee. I think they're going to choose AOC. God forbid. I think they're going to pick AOC in 2028. I really do. And the really sad part about it is she's a worse candidate than Kamala Harris is. And she will probably get more votes than Kamala Harris. She's a genuine threat. People would actually vote for her. But they're going to pick her because she's a Latina. She's a spicy Latina. Not because her ideas are good. Not because her policies are good. Because of her race and the fact that she's a woman. I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you are... I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you're black or white, whatever. I don't care about your skin tone. I don't care about your religion. I don't care where you come from. I care about your policies and your ideas. If you have good ideas and good policies, I'll vote for you. But the Democrats don't run people with good policies and ideas. I could ramble on for a while. I got one last story to talk about, and then we'll wrap this show up. All right. So Comer unleashes on Biden, demands DOJ probe of Autopen use in scathing new report. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer is demanding the Department of Justice conduct a comprehensive investigation into former President Joe Biden's Autopen use. The committee GOP majority released a 100-page report on Tuesday morning detailing findings from its month-long probe into Biden's White House, specifically whether his inner circle covered up signs of mental decline in the ex-president and if the alleged cover-up extended to the executive actions signed via Autopen without Biden's full awareness. Quote, faced with the cognitive decline of President Joe Biden, White House aides at the direction of the inner circle hid the truth about the former president's condition and fitness for office, the report said. The report also detailed a haphazard documentation process for pardons made by Biden, which the committee argued left room for doubt over whether the former president made those decisions himself. In the absence of sufficient contemporaneous documentation indicating that cognitively deteriorating President Biden himself made a given executive decision, such decisions do not carry the force of law and should be considered void, the GOP report said. The Department of Justice should immediately conduct a review of all executive actions taken by President Biden between January 20th, 2021 and January 19th, 2025. Given the pattern of findings detailed herein, this review should focus particularly on all acts of clemency. However, it should also include all other types of executive actions. So if you want to go and read the full report for yourself, it's linked in this article. It's about 100 pages long if you really want to go and get into the nitty-gritty of it. It's all cited. You can see pages and pages of citations in here. And it's crazy. All right, let's talk about this. I've heard a lot of pushback from the left saying that Donald Trump used Autopen too. I'm sure Barack Obama used an Autopen too. I'm sure George W. Bush used an Autopen too. My issue with the Autopen use has nothing to do with if the president physically took out a pen, signed his name on the executive order or not. I could care less if the president was literally holding the pen or if he thumbs up it and they put his name down. My issue comes of, did he know what the hell he was doing? We know that President Joe Biden, he was not all here. Folks, I remember watching him campaign in 2020. I knew he wasn't all here in 2020. We know he definitely wasn't all there in the last year of the presidency. I don't think he was all there for any part of his presidency. Just my opinion. So my issue is not so much did he or did he not physically sign the executive order himself or not. My issue is more, did he know what he was doing? I think there's two scenarios that happen in this situation. Either A, he was just so mentally not there that his staff just went and did things on his behalf. And they didn't consult with him, period. They didn't ask the president at all. If evidence comes out that shows that, 100% should be voided right there. No question about it. If evidence comes to light that executive orders were signed without the president having any knowledge of said executive orders, right there should be void. Now, I don't think that will happen. I'm sure they cover their tracks well enough, or they have plausible deniability to say, hey, we verbally talked to the president. But even then, let's just say option B, they did verbally talk to the president. They said, President Joe Biden, do you think that we should pardon Anthony Fauci? And he said, yep. How can we really believe that he even knew who Fauci was? How can we even believe that he knew what was happening or what he was being asked to do? How do we know that they didn't look at Joe Biden and say, Joe Biden, don't say anything if we should pardon Fauci? He didn't say anything, guys. We should pardon him, right? And they went into their thing, right? How do we know that? Now, go back to my initial point that I was saying that that Trump and Obama and a lot of other presidents use auto pens. I believe that Donald Trump is fully mentally there and has been for his entire presidency. I believe that Barack Obama was fully mentally here and was for his entire presidency. I believe he's still mentally there now. I believe that those people, if they used an auto pen, if they were consulted, right, were fully aware of the decision they were making. If someone asked Barack Obama if they should pardon X, Y, and Z person, and he said, yep, I believe that he knew exactly what he was doing, right? Now, we can have debates or not if you should be using an auto pen or not at all, right? As long as the president gave the say-so and the thumbs up and was fully mentally aware of what he was approving, I have no issue with an auto pen being used. I don't believe that Joe Biden had the mental wherewithal to know what the hell was going on during his presidency. So I think his should be voided. And if it got to a point where I felt like Donald Trump was not mentally there and he was signing executive orders, I would agree. I would agree. And the reason why I say that I have more of an issue if the president was mentally there or not is Joe Biden signed executive orders that he physically signed, right? How is that any different from him just giving the say-so and having someone else auto-sign them for him? He wasn't reading those executive orders. He didn't know what he was doing. I'm sure that his staff was just setting things down from him and saying, Joe, we need you to sign this. And he signed it, right? How the heck do we know that he was mentally there for that? So you understand what I'm saying, right? It's more about if you're mentally there. Because if you're not mentally there, you can still sign things, right? I could wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and be so groggy and have no idea what's going on and still sign something, right? I can still sign my name. But it shouldn't hold up if the president was not accurately informed of what he was signing and what was happening at the time. Just saying. That's my bigger point with this, is that Joe Biden clearly was not mentally here for all of this. And Barack Obama, Donald Trump, George Bush, they were all mentally here for their presidencies. That's the difference. Well, folks, that is all I have for today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know that I did. If you have any questions or comments about the show, send me a message on Twitter. Let me know. If you have stories you want me to cover, send them to me. If you have more information on anything that I've covered on this show today or show in the future, send it to me. I'd love to see it, right? I always want to try and give you the most accurate information that I can, and I'm working off of what I've got in front of me here. I can't read every single news article out there, so there's always stuff that I'm missing. So I appreciate all the help and support that you've given me over this past year. So we're going to go forward the show. I love doing it for you all. It's so much fun. And yeah, have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you back here on Thursday. Enjoy your Wednesday. And follow me on Twitter. That's the main platform that I'm on, posting things, interacting with people, and this show goes out at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on X, Rumble, and YouTube. Go and subscribe to the YouTube. That is the best place to watch this show. Every now and then, Rumble screws up. That is why, I just as an aside, I think that Rumble could become such a bigger platform if they just fix some of their back-end issues. Rumble, hit me up. I'll let you know what you guys gotta fix. Because it kind of sucks right now. Trying to upload on Rumble is literally like pulling teeth. It really kind of sucks. It's great when it works well, but when it doesn't, it just screws things up. YouTube is so much better, right? YouTube is great. Go and subscribe on YouTube. That's the best place to watch. The show will always be on YouTube, right? If Rumble screws up, then it's not up on X and it's not up on Rumble. But YouTube is uploaded independently of all of those. Go and watch on YouTube. That's the best place to see the show. I upload on Rumble, so it can also be when I upload on Rumble, it then also posts to X at the same time. That's why I use that service, and I like having it on several different platforms. So watching on YouTube is the best. Subscribing on there is the best for me, right? The more people who subscribe on YouTube, the more viewership, the more this show gets pushed out to people. I don't think the same thing happens on Rumble and X to the extent that it does on YouTube. So go and subscribe on YouTube is what I'm saying. Please do. It really does help me out. And if you have comments or questions or anything, send them to me on X. I don't read comments on my posts. I don't read comments on YouTube. I don't read comments anywhere. I read my DMs though. Send me messages in DMs. I sometimes see comments on X. I will say that. I sometimes do. It depends on who it is. But I don't independently go into my posts. I'm rambling now. This show has gone on long enough. I appreciate you watching so much. We'll be back here on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time with another episode of Spin Cycle Live. Thank you so much. I've been Nathan Hale. This has been Spin Cycle Live. Peace out. Bye.